So we do have something revolutionary to share with you. This is something that has just fallen on our lap by God's grace, and we have been a part of a project with my production company to make a short documentary film the past week. And by God's grace, we got it done, and we're thankful. And one of the things that we've learned through it is that we wanted to make sure everybody knows about this. And we normally don't show this stuff on our channel, but it has a lot to do with the church. So why don't you explain a little bit about what the film is?
Well, this film took place because it is a private library, not a government funded library. This is a private library called the Living Learning Library. This library needs funding, and we need more libraries like this. We need more funding to get more libraries like this nationwide. These libraries are special. They are not corrupt in any way. They are not, nothing has crept in unaware trying to indoctrinate our little children with schemes from the enemy.
Right.
This is a safe, wholesome place. And the reason why I really believe that God has his hand on this library and other libraries like it, these living book libraries, is because it mimics God's relationship to us.
Yeah.
So the Holy Bible was written as a story and as multiple stories, and it's just beautiful literature, the Bible, and it's God's way of having a relationship with us and helping us to grow into a greater revelation of Jesus Christ and his church.
Yeah.
And it's the way he speaks to us. It's the way that he confirms all things, so we know we're on the straight and narrow path, is through his living word. So this living library has created, which you're going to see in the documentary, I'm not going to ruin it and give away too much right now. This living library has all living books in it that are clean, living books. And living books helps you to build a relationship with every subject that God has created. So every subject. So in doing so, it literally helps my children to love science, love history, love even math, these living books, and of course history and all of that. They love these subjects because they have built a deep relationship with these subjects through rich literature, rich, beautiful, lovely literature. And so please watch this documentary because it's life-changing, and we need to get the message out there, and we need more of these libraries, and this library needs funding. And so we ask you to please bless us with your time. I think that you're just going to be blessed at the end of this. So
definitely. And you know, the reason why this film took place and the reason why they wanted to make it was for funding. So if you feel led in any way, their website is at the end. You can reach out to them. You can give however you'd like to give. But we just wanted to put this on our channel because we wanted people to see this and to know about it, because I know that there is a lot of corruption going on in other libraries, and the things that they're trying to feed our children now, it's not good. So this is good, and we just wanted to share this with everybody.
And I will say that this has been life-changing for me and such a saving grace with homeschooling for me, that I was really struggling in my homeschool journey, and just really just took like the private school, public school, brought it into my house and was implementing that with teaching my kids, and it was just dry, and my relationship with my kids weren't flourishing through it. And then I discovered Michelle Howard in the Living Learning Library, and I threw it all away. I threw the whole system away, and I started schooling in this way, and it repaired my relationship with my children, and it has made even just the flow of my household a beautiful thing. And just learning is so fun now as a family. And I just can't say enough about it. I'm gonna stop talking. So please.
So but listen, please watch this video. We're gonna play it right now for you. And thank you for hanging on for this long. But without further ado, here it is.
I'm often asked who this library is for, why even have a different library? And I can answer that very easily who this library is for. It's for any child, any teenager, any human who has a heart. Of course, we all have hearts, but our culture right now is very, very, very different. And it doesn't really want to recognize some of the immaterial things in human beings because that speaks of the immaterial realm, and our God is the great king there. So the world keeps insisting that we're really just brains. And so modern youth literature and modern education keeps saying that children just need data in their brains. And if your child is just a biological computer, then that is all they need. But that isn't who anybody is. Actually, everyone is hungry, like we were just talking about, for really deep meaning, really deep ideals, really deep purpose. And that is where real literature comes in, real lyrical language and real art, because that was what God created to penetrate deep into our souls, to carry truth and principles deep into our souls.
Who needs a textbook when you have living literature that this library provides you? We recently were studying the universe and all the planets, and the kids just falling in love with God's amazing creation and how vast it is and how much we still don't know about it. But these living books really gave us so much depth and richness into studying just that. We don't use a science textbook. We literally just read these amazing books.
I love that when we walk into the library, either Miss Michelle or Miss Dawn, the first thing they say is, "What are you guys interested? What can we help you with?" And so they've been able to just go through the different interests that my kids have had, the times when they want to be a ballerina, or we've gone through sign language books because we were going to have that. And one of my kids now is now in the vet books. And so they will pull books as they see and come across books of their interest that they know would be tailored towards my children. And that's just a level of personalization that you can't get. It's like having your personal librarian, really. And so that's been really special for us as well.
This not only applies to literature, but this applies to every academic topic. Let's take history, for example. You may have just, when you were young, had to memorize the date of the Boston Tea Party, but it's so different if you actually read real literature that takes you there, that transports you as if you were there, so that you're really wrestling with the issues. And then, hey, it's fun to go out afterwards and reenact it, experience this. This is all about real quality education, but also real quality life. So dive in deeply and go out and make it happen, where our individual children can blossom into everything that God meant for them to be. And that means great literature and great experiences. Another example is not just reading about something, a wildflower or an insect in a book and memorizing details about it, but reading beautiful literature about that with real art, and then going out, in a wonderful group and exploring and marveling and wondering. So what we're doing is we're awakening the children, awakening the teens to everything that's valuable, everything that's real. And right now, the techie culture wants to kind of break things down into little parts and imagine that they can make them manageable by humans. But actually, we live in a world of vast, epic, divinity and greatness because of our King of Kings who created it all. And we've been invited to be an active participant in all of that, to explore what he has made, to walk with him, to know him, and to be conversant with the deepest truths and to meet the needs of our culture. That is a very vivid, that is a very real, and that is a very relational process. So reading and then connecting it with the real world through history events, through nature walks, is just a great example of the whole vitality of what we're trying to help families do here.
The way I see the Living Library changing them as children to become adults is they're going to look back and say, I'm able to read chapter books. And they're going to say, I love reading. And as adults might be able to look at a blog post, but our kids really sit down and delve into the character and delve into a book. For me, to see them be self-learners through a book and really take their time to learn about something. It's the lifelong learning that they get from sitting down and reading an entire book and finishing it. Makes me just happy that one day they'll be able to learn on their own and not dependent.
I like nonfiction, so there's a lot of really good books here that you can't find in any public library. I do a lot of American history. That's probably my favorite subject. I don't know what I did without books because it really helps me understand what I'm learning about.
I love the Living Learning Library because there's lots of books in it and they're good books and there's no bad books and you're not I'm bored with this book. I don't want to do it. I don't want to read it.
I feel like a year ago, I wouldn't understand half the words I'm saying now after we went to the library.
I love all the books. When I come here, I look through all the books. I find books and I'm normally reading books.
I like that it has books that don't really have any bad words. It's all like good whole books. It doesn't like have bad literature toward parents. It doesn't make fun of the parents.
And now we're getting to the differences in literature. It used to be that children's literature back in what's called the Golden Age was written with the highest quality lyrical language, as I just referenced, and beautiful art that was done by artists that was all designed to create and to convey that deep truth to the deep heart of learners. But as the culture has changed and become more techy, become more postmodern, the youth literature is now very, very different. It focuses only on superficial elements of things. And then those superficial elements are parsed into a lot of little reductionist fragments that we're told that we need to memorize.
My children pick out a book for themselves to read, or she has picked out a book for them. They are lifted up, they are empowered, they are happy, their soul is joyful, and their spirit is light, and they enjoy the books so much. And that's what she does for each and every family here at the library.
So we choose to go to the Living Learning Library as opposed to going to a public library because if I went to a public library, I would have to search through all these books and try and put holds on all these books about the topics we're learning about that week in classical conversations. Instead, Michelle's already done this for us. She's put countless amounts of bins together with about 6 or 7 books in each bin about all the different topics we're learning about: geography, art, the great composers, science, and history. We get to learn about that every week through these bins, and you don't get that going to a public library. We're so grateful for it.
I'm Katie Cruz. I'm the head of school at the Oaks Classical Christian Academy. We are a university model school in Stuart, Florida. One of our goals is to build into our students a love for all things that are true and beautiful and good. And so having good literature that's accessible to them is really important to us. Since we can't have our own library, we partnered with the Living Library, and they were so gracious and excited to partner with us, and the feeling was mutual. So what we do is we give them a list of topics that we're going to be studying in the next few weeks, and they curate a beautiful collection of books that they send to the school, and then we distribute them to our families. So we actually build the Living Library books into our assignments. So it's a nice break for parents when you're at home and it's not just one more laborious lesson to teach, but whether it's fiction or nonfiction, these books just really bring it to life. And so it's created a nice extra depth to our studies, and we're not just looking at textbooks, but we're also diving into great literature. So we're just so grateful that they are willing to spend the time to do this for us. It's been a huge value add for all of our families.
So we have 5 children in total. Our college daughter, 19, and then another daughter who is 17, and another daughter who is 14, and then 2 boys, 12 and 5. So we first found out about the Living Learning Library about 2009, maybe 2010. We were missionaries living in Costa Rica, and resources for homeschooling were very minimal. And when we could find resources, it just weren't high quality resources. So we depended on everything being brought to us from the States. But the challenging part of that is that most things that would be easy to travel would be a set of textbooks or a full package curriculum. And we were already in a style of living in Costa Rica and in educating our kids that doing textbooks just wasn't what we were interested in. Mm-hmm. And so we began to look online for some options and came across Michelle. And at that time, she wasn't even in Florida. She was in Michigan. And I learned about her history curriculum called Truth Quest. And I was so impressed. And as I dug deeper, I realized, oh wow, these are actually using real books. This is not textbook information. So our oldest child is Naomi. She's 19. She attends Southeastern University. And we're super proud of her. She made the dean's list this year in school. This will be her second year in school. And
One of the things that has been so interesting about her education is that she's always been educated with living books.
As a father, the Living Learning Library and Michelle has not only helped us educate our children the way we would like to educate them on an intellectual level, but also on a spiritual level. You know, one thing that's always been very important to our family and that we've been very intentional about is the soul. We want to develop the spirit and develop the soul of the child so that they understand who the Lord is, how to walk with the Lord, and to be a contributing member to society.
Our 17-year-old is now in her last year of school. She plans to graduate this year, and she has also experienced the same type of education with largely living books. And one of the things that she has always expressed to us that she enjoys about our style of educating is that she has so much freedom and free agency in her education. And for our family to be able to empower our kids to learn how to learn has been a really important part of our journey. We want them to always love learning, but not to love what we're teaching them as much as be able to actually learn and know how to learn.
I think it's allowed me just to expand my educational learning style more, being able to kind of learn more openly instead of just like textbook written down. I have more outlets. When we lived in Costa Rica, I got really into like ancient history, more so like ancient China, and I really got involved with the whole terracotta soldiers and just their way of life, how they lived. The Living Learning Library allows me to kind of like go back into that and explore that world again.
It gives me more freedom and it allows me to understand better instead of a book that's just the facts, plain and simple.
So we also have a son, Elijah, who's 12, and he's grown up obviously seeing all of his sisters above him enjoy the library. And while they had specific things they were looking for, Elijah also has his own interests, which are very different from his sister. And that's the beautiful part about the library, is that there's something for everyone, for every age range there. And Eli's almost always interested in something that has to do with the war era, whether it's World War I or World War II. He's extremely knowledgeable about lots of trivia, lots of interesting things. He has his own insights about strategies in World War II and has learned about aircraft and weaponry and ships. And so when he goes, he's almost always has something in mind that he wants to ask Michelle about.
Yeah, one of the things that it has meant for our family is that learning can be fun. You know, so much of education is focused on the textbook approach only, that a lot of times the kids feel like it's a have to rather than a get to.
No matter the age, there is something here for everybody. And I want to point out, especially for young children, it is so important to get them started on literature right away. We have a special program. We didn't write it. It was written by someone else, the Lamberts, called 5 in a Row. The concept there was that you would read a high-quality picture book to children 5 days in a row, and that you would bring out all sorts of embedded topics in those books. But what we have done is we support that curriculum very deeply by providing beautiful literature on all those themes, plus the main book being covered. So families take home these ready-to-pack totes, especially good if mommy's got her hands full with lots of little kiddos or whatever, and it's there to have this very enriching experience. Not only do you learn how to learn and learn about the world, but you learn that education is ultimately relational. And this is not just for home educators, although it's for home educators of every type. It's not just for those in private school or public school, it's for everyone. Everyone was created to feed deeply on meaningful content through real, again, lyrical language and through beautiful art. And that is what we are after here. And that has to be purposely created, found, and sought after. And that's why families go to so much trouble to come here and why we work hard to have this so together. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. It's a resource for the whole community to have available to them the best that was ever created on every topic for all ages.
What this library truly needs is people who are willing to pour into the mission here. People who not only can help us with their talents, their time, but mostly we need people who can help us with their dollars. We would really like to be able to feel confident each day that we
we'll never have to close the doors. We'll never have to say no to a family. That we could give families scholarships, and we could help families who aren't able to make those monthly dues be able to come here. The financial burden is very real, and it is felt each and every day. We are not worried because we trust that this is the Lord's mission, but we do want to make sure that we are able to keep the doors open every day, that we're able to continue this mission. And to do that, we do need some more funding. We need to be able to feel like we can look ahead to the future and not worry, but know that we can keep going.
I guess one of the biggest things that I love about this library and just the resources that Michelle has been able to provide is that my kids have not had to depend on the public library and the material that they present, especially for the kids as they get older into the teen years. So I love that they can read biographies about great people here, get exposure to different ideas for the different projects they're working on for school, and I don't have to feel afraid or ashamed of releasing them into this space because it's one that's been carefully curated by Michelle, and I know that it has, whatever they read, whether I've proofed it or not, ideas that they can wrestle with and we can talk about and are good for them.
We're very thankful to Michelle for starting us on the right path with good, wholesome, truth-filled books.
I see the work that the library is doing and the work that Michelle's doing, raising up these kids and really going through each book and making sure this book is for this child. And she said something the other day, only one book will only be read by a few hundred kids. So to me, that's sad, but these books need to go out to more kids so more kids can grow and learn about God's creation and who He created them to be.
Michelle is a very special human being. She is the kind of woman that you want to just be around. She is interested in who you are and what makes you tick, what you're about. She wants you to grow. She wants you to feel special. And she works so very hard at this mission in her heart. This is a ministry for her.
The heart of this entire ministry is very simple, and it is that we are not motivated by what we have memorized, but by why we know very, very, very deeply down in our hearts. How do we get truth to the heart of the next generation? And that is through the highest quality literature and art, and then the companion experiences that are possible. The culture doesn't make that so easy anymore. We have to be proactive about that, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We help every single family begin a journey of discovery, no matter who they are and where they're headed, and we supply them with the resources to do that. It's countercultural right now to have rich resources, but that is what we are here to provide.